Op art, also known as optical art, is a style of visual art that makes use of optical illusions. Op artworks are abstract, with many of the better-known pieces made in black and white. When the viewer looks at them, the impression is given of movement, hidden images, flashing and vibrations, patterns, or alternatively of swelling or warping. How op art works. Black and white wavy lines are placed close to one another on a canvas surface, creating such a volatile figure-ground relationship that one's eyes begin to hurt. Colorist work is dominated by the same concerns of figure-ground movement, but they have the added element of contrasting colors, which have different effects on the eye.
Dadaism. The word Dada means anti. Dadaism in art means anti-art. Dada or Dadaism was a form of artistic anarchy born out of response for the social, political, and the cultural values of the time. It embraced elements of art, music, poetry, theater, dance, and politics. Dada was not so much a style of art like Cubism and Fauvism. It was more a protest movement with an anti-establishment manifesto. Dada's weapons of choice in their war with the establishment were confrontation and provocation. They attacked traditional artistic values with irrational attitudes that provoke conservative, complicated, with outrageous statements and actions. Dada questioned the value of all art and whether its existence was simply an indulgence. The great paradox of Dada is that they claim to be an anti-art, yet here we are discussing their artworks. Even their most negative attacks on the establishment resulted in positive artworks that open a door to future developments in 20th century. The effect of Dada was to create a climate in which art was alive to the moment and not paralyzed by the traditions and restrictions of established values.
Created using Powtoon.
Photorealism is a genre of art that encompasses painting, drawing, and other graphic mediums in which an artist studies a photograph and then attempts to reproduce the image as realistically as possible.
Created using Powtoon.
Pointillism. Pointillism is a painting technique which involves adding very small dots or dashes of color to a canvas. Technically, pointillist artworks are considered to be in the Neo-Impressionist school of painting. Pointillism may also sometimes be called divisionism or chromolumineerism, referring to the terms that Seurat himself used. Seurat believes that painting and art could be approached scientifically, relying on the rules of optics and perception to bring dynamism and feeling to his work. The painter also realized that the use of warm colors could make a piece feel more friendly and happy, while dark colors, jagged lines, could completely change the mood of a piece.
Created using Powtoon.
So good day guys. Today I'm gonna explain about two schools of art, namely Post-Impressionism and Romanticism. These two schools of art is very broad in study, but I will try to reduce the idea but not affecting the general meaning of it. So let's get started with Romanticism. Romanticism refers to a movement in the arts flourishing in the 18th century to the mid-19th century that rebelled against neoclassicism. It was the first cultural movement to involve all of Europe in terms of art, architecture, literature, and music. The word romantic first became current in 18th century English and originally meant romance-like, resembling the strange and fanciful character of medieval romance. The romantic sought faraway places and exotic adventures. It implies the placement of emotion over their reasoning. Feelings such as melancholic, reverie, sentimental, sense of awe inspired the Romantics. The main figure for French Romanticism was Theodore Géricault, the most influential artist of his time and a figure of 19th century Romantic art. One of his masterpieces include Wrath of Medusa, refers on a heroic scales of suffering of ordinary human. The Colossus by Francisco Goya shows a giant in the center of the canvas, walking towards the left-hand side of the picture. Mountains obscure his leg up to his thighs, and clouds surround his body. The giant appears to be adopting an aggressive posture as he is holding one of his fists up to shoulder height. One of the examples of Romanticism art is The Fisherman at the Sea by William Turner. The potency of the moonlight contrasts with the delicate vulnerability of the flickering lantern, emphasizing nature's power over mankind and the fisherman's fate in particular. The belief of Romanticism was the value of individual experience. Virtually all modern art derived from Romanticism. Primary of artistic freedom, originality, and self-expression in art were conceived by the Romantics. So the next one is the Post-Impressionism. Post-Impression dates back between 1880 to 1920. Post-Impressionism represents an extension of Impressionism and a rejection of that style's inherent limitation. The term Impressionism was coined by the English art critic Roger Fry for the work of such late 19th century painters such as Paul Cézanne, Paul Gauguin, and Vincent van Gogh, and others. Post-Impressionists sought to create their world of feeling, form, and spirit. They continued using the vivid colors, thick application of paint, distinctive brushstroke, and real-life subject matter of Impressionism. Here are some examples of painting done by Impressionists in general. One of the examples of Post-Impressionism is The Yellow Christ by Paul Gauguin. In this painting, Gauguin was inspired by the naive simplicity of a wooden 17th century crucifix that he saw in the nearby church at Tremalo, and he uses its primitive form and autumnal yellow color as a key to the work. Another is The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh's work Starry Night was painted from memory and not outdoors, as was Vincent's preference. This may in part explain why the emotion impact of the work is so much more powerful than many of Van Gogh's other work from the same period. Tahitian Landscape by Paul Gauguin. Gauguin works can be split into two phases. An early period spent painting around the rustic town of Port Aven in Brittany, and a later period in search of the primitive lifestyle in Tahiti and the Marquesas Island in the South Pacific. He fused his symbolic use of color with images of both environments to create a highly personal and expressive vision that pushed art towards the exhilarating style. In general, Post-Impressionism led away from a naturalistic approach and toward two major movements that superseded it, Cubism and Fauvism, which sought to evoke emotion through color and line.
Created using Powtoon.
Street art. Street art is a visual art created in public locations. It is an artwork executed outside of the context of traditional art venues. Graffiti. Graffiti are writings or drawings that have been scribbled, scratched, or sprayed on a wall or on other surface, often in a public place. It has existed in ancient times. In most countries today, painting property without the property owner's consent is considered vandalism, which is a punishable crime.
Created using Powtoon.
Art. Pop art was used to catch the eyes of the audiences who are looking on it. They use vibrant colors or psychedelic colors to caught attention of people around. Pop art was used for comic strips, movie banners, and advertisement of products. It was depicted in Great Britain how Americans live their life in America. And in America, they use pop art to depict how they live on it. Rococo art. Rococo art was mainly used for decoration of houses, decoration of furnitures, ornaments, and even their dresses. Rococo art is different from Baroque art. Unlike Baroque art, Rococo art doesn't concern about religion and dramatic expression. And Baroque art uses darker sense of color, while in Rococo art it uses softer color or colors that doesn't necessarily irritates the eyes of the onlookers.
Okay na. Okay na ba? O sige, okay na, okay na. Hi there! Each ideology represents the identity of each schools. For example, photorealism creates a replica from an original photo with the use of paintings or other mediums. While, 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 realism portrays the truth on what mediums the artist used. Ideology comes with different interpretation, and that interpretation is I do not know. Pero ang totoo niyan on how the artists express themselves through their artworks. What? Let's continue. Aesthetics describes the pleasure and beauty of a masterpiece or an artwork of the artist. Aesthetics also gives the lifestyle and identity of the artist through it. Each of the schools gives a style of approach for each of them. To put it simply, each of the schools describes or gives a sign or a message for the people. It gives them a chance to see other perceptions and the way of thinking. Through their art, it helps us to see the history of our ancestors and the likes. And the likes. And the likes.
Identity of each schools. For example, photorealism creates a replica of a photo through painting or other mediums, while realism portrays what is the truth, what we can see in our daily lives. Ideology comes with different kinds of interpretations and how the artists express their artworks. Aesthetics gives the beauty of their works for the people to feel the artist's feelings or emotions when they make their masterpiece. It gives their identity and lifestyle through their works. To put it simply, each of their masterpieces represents their souls for them to share to the people. It contributes as a change for others, a change of heart for the better future. People see other perceptions when encountering different artworks. The School of Art revolutionized the history. In artwork, we can see how the people live in the past, how they treat art, and how they see the beauty of art.